Hello everybody, it's the July 2025 garden update. Let's take a look and see what's going on here. Start out here at the clearance garden. I've added a couple more items. It's a couple of coreopsis plants. Got to get out here and pull some weeds. But other than that, it's looking pretty good. The daylilies are about finished up. Got to clean up some of the dead foliage there and kind of tidy that up a little bit. We've got a couple of volunteer marigolds come up in here, so that's pretty cool. Moonflower, not too prolific this year, but it's there. The pink Turk's cap is doing its thing. Got some spiders and wildlife and some kind of something in there. There's the blossoms on that. Overall looking pretty well. The Asian lilies have finished blooming. I caught a big grasshopper on this Rose of Sharon and took care of that the other day. And then back to these, got some nice seed heads, so maybe I can start some seed from that. This moonflower is doing a little bit better. That one should open tonight. 11 herbs and spices are looking pretty good. Really been enjoying these fresh herbs and spices, that's for sure. The hollyhocks and citronella doing their thing, looking pretty good. No problems there. Check out those 4 o'clock plants this year. Those are huge. I'll put a little clip in here of what they are looking like in full bloom. They're not doing too much on the blooms yet, but there's some areas that are looking pretty nice. My glow-in-the-dark petunia is still here and thriving, so very good to see that. There's the little tag, and there is the back. I might juxtapose a photo of that, what that looks like in the dark. I have planted out all my fall crops, so those are taking root and growing well. My cheapest free hanging basket is actually starting to bloom. Now, as a reminder, I had some potting soil, some extra Jiffy pots. I just threw everything in there and scattered some seed heads from my already established marigold plants in the flower beds, and this is the result. The flower bed behind the lean-to, just growing and doing its thing. The zinnias are blooming pretty well. Marigolds are kind of in a holding pattern. May need a little bit of fertilizer to entice them to bloom. Here's what the coleus and begonia plants are looking like at the corner here where it stays more shady. They like that. They seem to be pretty happy. Here's a look at the ground cover. I trimmed it the other day. It's looking pretty good. The AC is working flawlessly. And on. Those looking pretty good there this year. July rainfall. Just a touch over 3 inches of rain, like 3 1/8. Something like that. That red line's where it was. And it's evaporated that much out. But that's exceptional for July, because July, August, and September are usually our driest months of the year. Here's the sickly Turk's cap out in the middle of the yard, looking less sickly than it has in many years. Very happy to see that. I did a lot of super thrive and fertilization and treating for different insects, and the work seems to have paid off, and I've got this back in good health again. Let's check out the little flower bed by my workshop. The begonias and coleus again over here. Looking pretty good. I like to take these little flower pods off to keep plants compact. Now for my test bed. This is the hottest, driest part of the yard. If it can live here, it can live anywhere in the property. So I'll buy one plant. If it works, I'll get some more. If not, I don't buy any more. Simple as that. But we got stuff blooming in here. I can't remember what that is off the top of my head. There's a label there. That's a compact deep pink verbena. So it looks like that's a winner. There's some volunteer periwinkles that came up in those cracks between the paved stones. Looks pretty good to me, so I just left them. Firebush is starting to bloom. So hopefully that'll mean the hummingbirds will be coming soon. Let's take a look at the south side looking north. I have tidied up in here, pulled some weeds, trimmed some plants back. They're reblooming, looking pretty good. I moved some little seedlings in here. Looks like 3 out of 4 survived, so not too bad. I've been getting them from here as they come up. I can move these over. So I always have some fresh seedlings coming up. And then this is those zinnias I planted from seed some time back. They're still here and thriving and putting on new blooms all the time, getting taller and taller. Probably a good 4 feet tall at the tallest part. Vegetable garden update. I have removed the cucumbers as they are spent and weren't doing anything. Currently nothing planted at the trellis right here except weeds. However, I've got some cantaloupe planted over here. So we'll see how that does. And then there's one of those tomatoes I started from seed from my fall tomatoes. These beans are here just kind of for some little bit of shade on this part of the yard. Helps a little bit. They're not really producing beans at the moment. Here's a look at those marigolds I planted early in the spring. They're just sitting there doing fine. As time goes on, I gather seed heads and sprinkle them elsewhere, so I got more marigolds coming up. There's a couple more tomato plants from those I started from seed from my fall crop. And here's one of the existing tomatoes I planted in the spring. Just trying to keep it healthy at this point. When the weather breaks, the summertime heat breaks, it'll start producing tomatoes again. Just a couple of squash plants I have started from seed and planted out here last weekend as well. There's my okra. I moved this plant. They don't like being moved, but it looks like it's going to make a comeback. Had a couple of spots here and there that the seed didn't come up, so I replanted them. As you can see, just past that taller plant. So that's wonderful. Another spring tomato plant here. Nice, healthy looking okra plant there. A nice, healthy basil plant. And then again with the existing tomato plant still here and thriving. Very, very nice. And I'll look this way for my okra patch. And a random plant there of okra. It's another one of my fall tomato plants. This row here I have planted some broccoli, and not too many of those have come up yet. But there's one right there. I have planted one at each where the holes are on the irrigation, so I may have to poke another one down here and there. But there's another broccoli plant coming up there. And more okra. Could never have enough. There's a little bit more tomato plants I've planted in hopes of some fall tomatoes. And then there's the basil for the companion planting. Here's this random 4 o'clock that always comes up here. More tomatoes, more marigolds. These have had to be sprayed for spider mites, and they're probably due another one any day now. Smell a dead rat, so that's always awesome. More tomatoes. I don't know about these honeydew melons. I don't think they're going to produce, but they're kind of making a nice shade, so I'm leaving them as long as they're living. Got some aphids. I have sprayed them, but I don't think that deterred them any. But I had noticed a lot of ladybug activity, so I'm just kind of letting them do their thing. I have removed the spring squash and replaced it with zinnias. Looks like they're coming up pretty well and looking pretty good, so we'll see how that goes. And a close-up look of the 4 o'clocks. Again, I will juxtapose a video from later in the evening when they are in bloom. Behold, the original part of the garden. We have okra today that I need to pick. That's perfect right there. So I'll definitely get that picked before I head out. And right here is a volunteer tomato plant. So I just went ahead and let that grow. I've got my pepper plant still in a holding pattern across here. Actually making some peppers because we had a bunch of rain. It cooled off a bit, so they were able to produce again. But the goal here again is to keep them healthy until the summer breaks. Black-eyed peas. Just picked them for the second time yesterday, and they're already producing again. So very nice, very nice. These are looking pretty healthy. Got some random foliage that's not too healthy, but I'll eliminate that and maybe give them a little treatment. So yeah, the main part of the garden looking awesome this year. Give it a quick look from this side. Heck yeah. And now the flower bed on the south side of the house. I think I have eliminated my powdery mildew that I was talking about last month. Did lose a few plants and some foliage, but overall looking pretty good. Can see some new growth starting from the damaged areas. Got a lot of that dayflower in there. I got to pull that out, but a lot of desirable plants as well. For example, these tall marigolds still looking pretty healthy and blooming like crazy. And the butterfly bush is looking pretty good. Let's take a look at some of my volunteer periwinkles. Looking good, looking good. I transplanted some of these from over in the test bed. They seem to be happy. The yellow flower bed isn't too yellow today, but it is healthy. Hey, I spoke too soon. Looks like we got a snapdragon trying to yellow up on us. Canna lilies, aka tropicals, are blooming pretty nicely. Can't complain about that. The front flower bed with the pentas looking pretty good. Fantastic. I have given the unimus bushes another scale treatment of horticultural oil. I first sprayed down the loose scale as much as I could with the strong jet of water to knock them loose, and then sprayed them. Don't know what that's all about, but whatever. So those are looking decent. As it's dried out, I'll probably have to get the watering on them a little bit heavier, they dry out fast. But we're supposed to be below 100 degrees, so they should be okay. They tend to struggle this time of year. Not the best plant to have, but I'll take care of them as long as they live. Hanging basket number 1. Look how they've grown up. As a reminder, I started these from scratch with some little bitty plants back in March, and this is what they have become. I did add these caladiums here, these green with red spots, to the back because they looked a little sparse in the back end, and got them all fixed up. Hanging basket 2, kind of the same deal. I did put a little horticultural oil on these as well, as there's some, look like some scale attacking the polka dot plants. The flower bed by the mailbox is in full summer bloom. I've got my periwinkles, and that salvia is bloomed again, so that looks pretty good. This is what the flower bed in the middle of the front yard's looking like now, kind of blooming back up. Daylilies are done, so the annuals are kind of taken over for a little bit. This fire bush is not looking super healthy this year, but I guess I'll give it the same treatment like I did that Turk's cap in the back and see if I can bring it back around. I have mulched this as it's drying out, and don't want to lose my plants while I'm away at work and can't babysit them. I have planted some late season sunflowers. As those grow up, I will cut these old ones down. See how many of those come up. I don't know if squirrels have dug some of them up or not. If so, I will just start them in pots and then set them out when it's appropriate. But that cluster of periwinkles is really getting with it today. So real good to see that. And at last, the flower bed on the north side of the property. As usual, it's time to pull the live oak saplings, but got a lot of caladiums in here this year, in coleus. Looking pretty good. And on down here, looking all right. Got a different sounding cicada this morning. We'll have to ID that one. Definitely not a scissor grinder. Here's a look at this north strip of lawn. Overall looking pretty good. A little thin there yet, but looks like it's trying to make a run at it. Can't complain about that for this time of year. It's July 18th at the time of recording. And now for the lawn. Looking absolutely fantastic for this time of year. Wanted to get it on camera before the heat really sets in and starts my dry spots. But I haven't been able to come up with anything to alleviate those. So I just do the best I can and keep the roots going till it starts raining again in the fall, and then it'll come right back out. But all this that I did the vertical cutting filled in nicely. Got some spurge starting, so I have to work on that a little bit. Let's take a look at the south side of the lawn. It's looking real nice. Got this one spot of spurge here, but that's kind of a bad spot in the lawn right there. So I'll probably be spraying some spurge here pretty soon. And the water came on, so that's awesome. Get out of here pretty quick. Let's take a look at this side of the yard from this angle. Looking pretty good. Got crepe myrtles in bloom. Forgot to mention the rehabbed one earlier, but that's what it's looking like. So it takes 2 years If you have one that's topped, cut it all the way to the ground. Let 5 or 6 shoots grow, and you'll have a perfectly healthy crepe myrtle once again. And a look from this side, the backyard's looking pretty nice as well. Can't beat that for late July. So, August. Just a bunch of maintenance stuff going on. There's really not that much going on right now. Everything's pretty stable and working all right. So we'll see what kind of videos I can come up with for August. But for now, this has been the July 2025 garden update. Thank you for watching.